Hi. In our last video, we looked at how do we create CAP applications and how do we start running the CDS, building the CDS model that is there in the CAP application. Today, we are looking at very specifically app routers. How do we access app routers? How do we add app router in a CAP application? And why it is important for us to start using app routers and how it really helps us. Okay. So we go back to the original structure of the CAP application that we have built. It's the same CAP application. I right click on the mta.yaml. I say create mta module from the template. In this, depending on what features you have selected while creating the development space, you will be allowed to select different modules. So while creating the full stack application, I have also ticked the workflow module in place. So I will get the workflow module, workflow UI, which is there. So if you have not checked that, you will not get that. So do not worry about what options do you have, but you will by default have an app router configuration, which is there. So I select the app router configuration. So it adds the app router. It asks you two kinds of app router. One is the managed Approuter, the other one is the standalone Approuter. We look at the difference in some time, but on a very high level, managed Approuters are the Approuters that are managed by SAP. Standalone Approuter is when you create an Approuter module within your multi-target application and you access those applications via your Approuter, which is there. We want to add an authentication method here. Because of that, we say yes. When we select an authentication method, we add the xs-UAA service instance into our multi-target application. We do plan to add the UI module into our applications. So because of that, we say yes. If you do not want to add UI, you just want to have a standalone application without any UI in your CAP, you say no. But we do plan to add yes. So because of this, we add both of them as yes, and then we'll see how it affects our mta.yaml from this. Yeah. So it takes a minute to go across for the files to be generated. Once the files are generated, you get module called as Approuter. In this, you have package.json, xs-app.json. We will have a very specific video that talks more about what happens in xs-app.json, but this is very specific to Approuter and standalone Approuter. So we look at the package.json of the standalone Approuter, which is there. Okay. But before we go into the package.json, let us look at what are the changes that it has given to us because we added the Approuter. Previously, if you remember, we had a service module, we had a database module. Now we have an app router module, which is an extra module that is in place. Okay. Along with this, because we selected we want to add UI to our application, we have a UI deployer module, which is there. As and when you add more UI5 applications or Fiori Elements applications into your CAP application, you get different modules. They require sections of it. Okay. From this, we have selected we need the authentication to be handled. Because of that, we have a UAA module that is added. So I have a configuration file for xs-UAA. We will have a specific discussion about xs-UAA sometime later. Okay. So we have the HTML's app repo. There are two services that will be added, or two resources that will be added. One is runtime, the other one is app host. When you want to deploy an application, and the Cloud Foundry, which is a container based environment, needs to have a container that can hold your applications, then you have a app host service that is enabled. Your app router wants to access this application from the application host and then should be able to render it in runtime. Because of that, we have a application runtime service that is added. So if you look at the application, my runtime is a required resource for my app router. But however, my repo host is a required resource for my UI deployer. Okay, so this is how it happens. The UI deployer hosts the applications, the app router renders these applications for us. Yeah. Okay, so these are the changes that we have for our mta.yaml. Okay, let us look at very specifically what is happening in the new folder that is generated, that is the app router folder. Okay, I have an xs-app.json file, which is a descriptor file used in Cloud Foundry to specify different proxies that we want to add. A particular data call should go to a particular destination, should go to a particular service. All this rerouting can happen here. It will also take care of adding the CSRF token protection and other things that are there. In a CAP application, the CSRF protection is given by Approuter. So Approuter is responsible for issuing the tokens, validating the tokens, and then sending the requests via the Approuter to all the different modules. So Approuter is a module that acts something similar to a gateway dispatcher, and it will be able to redirect requests coming into the application to different modules that we have. We look at very specifically at package.json. So we have a dependency of the library SAP Approuter. Let us look at that very specific library in npm.js. So the latest version is 13.0.1. So let us go ahead and update our applications to 13.0.1. So here by default it is 10.5.1. So we update this. Okay. To mock the HTML repos, we have a dev dependency in place. We can start the Approuter, we can start with the local HTML repo mock which is there. So we don't want to change anything in place. So we've added the app router for us. Okay. So this is how you add an app router. This is ready for our applications. You can build the CAP application using mta.yaml. You can do build mta project. It will build with the app router that is there and create a mtar file. So we've just started the build. It takes a minute to build all of those things. So during the build, we notice that we are trying to build an application and we are not able to find the deployed versions. There are different installation versions that are not missing. That's because our CAP application is not ready. Yeah, because we have added multiple installations in place. So we have to have package.jsons that are coming in. We need to have node modules that are installed and other dependencies which are there. So we'll look at this when we have a complete application in hand, and then how we can build and deploy it into the app. Yeah.